noticed that a lot of people are having issues with the items in the game, using them, figuring out what they're used for, things like that. So I thought I'd make a little tutorial over what the items do and how to use them based on things that I've read and how I've used them in game. So that way we can kind of just go through them. So we'll start with the first item over here. We're going to start with the Sanity Pills. Sanity Pills, each bottle will restore 40% of your sanity. These are pretty much a necessity on larger maps now, such as school, asylum, and prison, especially on professional, where they start with the power box turned off when you start the round, and you have to go find the power box to get any kind of lights going anyway. By that point, you've probably already gone through the building, lost a lot of your sanity. These are very useful to get that back up if you're trying to prevent the hunt from happening, since maybe you haven't got set up yet and haven't found the room, things like that. As mentioned, each bottle does 40%, so if you take two, it's 80%. They do not exceed 100% of your sanity. While you're in the truck, you do not lose sanity, but you can see on the board here, you can monitor your sanity and see how it looks as far as that goes. That's about all it really is for the Sanity Pills, but it's good for keeping it above the threshold. 75% is about the mark where the team average. The team average reaches 75%, it starts becoming more likely that the ghost will hunt because of the multiplier. Granted, some ghosts will hunt outside of the multiplier factor because of their abilities, which we can go over ghosts in another video if you'd like. You can definitely like, subscribe, let me know, comments below. I will make another video based on the ghosts and kind of go over them and explain a little tips and tricks over ghosts if needed, at least what I've discovered thus far. The next item on the list is the thermometer. The thermometer is the easiest way to find the ghost room that I have found. Basically, it will detect the temperature. You can read it out in Fahrenheit and in Celsius as far as your readout. You can change this in the settings in your options in the main menu. Right now, that does not currently allow you to do it when you're in the lobby already, so you can do this in the main menu, changing the readout to Fahrenheit or Celsius, depending on which one you want. When you find the room will be at starting around 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually if you reach about 11, it'll usually start Celsius and like 52 Fahrenheit. That's usually kind of an indicator that you're getting close. When you're pointing at a room, depending on which direction you're pointing, that's where it will detect the temperature based on what you're looking at. Sometimes the temperature does not always drop immediately, so it's not always the most reliable right away. This device has been the most reliable to me. I use it every round. You also can detect temperatures through doors. This will allow you to find the room without having to go through and open doors, especially in the bigger maps, such as Asylum, School, and Prison. The only time you consider this as evidence of freezing temps is if it reaches 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and at which point you would also start seeing your breath or other players' breath as well, because it would start emitting the fog from breathing. That's about all there is for the thermometer. I'm going to set that down. Next we have the UV glow stick. The UV glow stick is good for finding fingerprints and footprints with some ghosts that will leave the marks if that is evidence to find. This is an alternative to the UV flashlight that we'll get to later. It can also be used for a light source. During hunts, lights will flash and flicker in the house and on the flashlights, and even the UV light will be affected by this. Lighting these by the right click will allow it to turn on, and you can throw it onto the ground and have a light source that will not flash and flicker, and it'll kind of keep you in an area where you can see where you're going and what you're doing. That's about all there is to the UV glow stick. We'll move over to the spirit box now. The spirit box is the item that you use to communicate with the ghost, and it will give you evidence as to if it speaks with you or not. This is the spirit box evidence, obviously. While it's on, it'll cycle through its channels such as this. It does indicate questions, such as where are you? How old are you? Things like that. And it will detect. Sometimes it is a little weird on detecting your voice, that at least I've noticed. And as you can see there, it's detecting it on some of the things I'm saying. It can detect in a proximity as well. So if you have it sitting in a room somewhere on a table or on the floor, if somebody is near it and asks it a question, it can detect if the ghost is nearby. The ghost does have to be within a certain range of the spirit box for it to answer. So if you're in a larger room, sometimes it is harder to get a read with the spirit box. For example, the cell blocks A and B in prison is one of the rooms, or some of the rooms that I have had issues with getting a readout in the spirit box. You do kind of have to walk around a little bit to get the information from the spirit box to get it to work. Now, the spirit box does have to have the lights off in the room that you're in to get it to work. It will not work with the lights on. Another thing you do have to be careful of is if the ghost likes to be with alone or with people in a group. That will determine another factor whether or not it will speak in the spirit box. If it's a ghost that likes alone and there's more than one person in the room, it will cause the ghost to not react to it. That's about all there is to the spirit box. It is not something to use to find the ghost as far as the room goes, but it is sometimes useful in that there have been times where walking through and asking questions with the spirit box will help find it, but that doesn't always work since it is not always evidence for the ghost, because not every ghost uses the spirit box. Next, we have the most important item. This is the crucifix. I've noticed that a lot of people have issues with the crucifix. The crucifix can be used in hand or on a surface or on the floor. However, you do have to be within 3 meters or 5 meters if it's a banshee. If it's banshee, it will be 5 meters. But you do have to be within the range, so it is much safer to have it on the floor or on a surface in order to prevent the hunt. It's just safer to play it that way, but it does work in hand if you're in the range. The range is a little weird because I have noticed that it does not seem to be what you would think is 3 meters. But it works for smaller rooms, and I'll kind of show you the layout of what I do with the 2 crucifixes here in a little bit in this video to kind of explain, but it does prevent a hunt. Each crucifix has 2 charges to prevent a ghost. The crucifix will disappear once it's used up. There's no in-game indicator otherwise if it's been used beyond that, so if it just has 1 charge used, it will still be there, but it will not indicate whether or not it's been used. That is something that the developer is working on to indicate whether the crucifix has used a charge or not. Whether it's going to be a sound or something of the sort. He hasn't quite got that implemented yet, but they are working on that. Next is the EMF. This is an EMF reader. This device you can turn on by right-clicking. It indicates 1 through 5 on the levels. Each light will light up the stronger it gets. This is also used for finding the room as well. At least with my friends and I when we play, somebody usually runs an EMF reader as well. If I split up with them and I'm looking for the cold room with the thermometer, they use the EMF sometimes, because if they do walk into the room that does have the reading, or near the room that does have the reading, or activity going on, it will go off, meaning that they are close by. The EMF is used also to find the evidence of EMF 5. The EMF reader must reach level 5 in order for it to count for the evidence. You can set it down on places once you have it in the room. If you found the room, you can lay it down on the floor. You can put it on shelves and desks and such. Make sure you can always see the lights. Sometimes, as you saw me earlier throwing it, it does kind of flip sometimes, so you won't be able to see the light. So you kind of just have to angle it the right way to where it will not flip over. Sometimes it is a little more difficult to get it to do so, but that's how it works as far as throwing it down. And that's how you get the EMF reading. Next is the smudge sticks. The smudge stick, you will have to have 2 inventory slots open because you do need to carry the lighter with you. You obviously can use the lighter for, by itself, because you can light candles and such with this. Now, with the smudge stick, it is used for cleansing the room as one of the objectives, but it can also prevent Yuris from wandering, which is something we can go over at another point. But it will prevent a Yuri from wandering because Yuris are known for going from room to room and kind of walking about, but they will always hunt from the room that they are found in. This also prevents a spirit from hunting a lot longer. The smudge stick will prevent all ghosts from hunting for 90 seconds except for the spirit. The spirit it will prevent for 180 seconds. So it doubles the time frame that the spirit can hunt. So it's good if you're needing to prevent a ghost from coming after you when you're still trying to do something, or if you're low sanity and needing something to happen, this is a good way to prevent a spirit from coming after you, especially. In order for it to work, you have to press F, and you'll see the smoke start. You'll walk around a room, whichever room the ghost is in, and you will just kind of let it make a trail here. And once it's used up, you will see that it turns to a black or like a dark gray color, as you see here. That means that the smudge stick is complete, it's been used. And you can also check, it'll check off your objective if it is complete in the right room. I do not have that as one of my objectives to show you, but according to this I do have to prevent a hunt, get an EMF reading, I can get a photo of the ghost. So we'll toss that down. So next on the list is the Parabolic Microphone. This is used to detect sound. As you can see, it starts at 0 and it reads in decibels, so if you see something with noise, if you pick up something with noise, it reads out at about every second, I believe, is what I remember reading about. It picks up a lot of different things. I'm going to go ahead, at this point, I will just list on the screen here all the different things that it will detect as far as sounds go. This is supposed to detect at a long range, however, it's been kind of funky as far as how it works. It doesn't detect at a very large range. It seems to only pick up between like a room or two, maybe through doors and things like that. It doesn't seem to pick up very well based on the description that it gives. And also it can be kind of tricky at times because it picks up a lot of different items. As you can see, some of the things such as the player's flashlight or people talking or walking around can interfere with the sound as well. It can give you kind of a false reading. And it's probably kind of picking up me talking right now is kind of what's going on there, back and forth a little bit there. It does pick up in a cone shape. If I'm pointing, say, at the wall there, based on it, it's going to pick up from about here to about here-ish. It's just kind of a cone shape area that it's going to pick up in when you point in that direction. Granted, it does help find the ghost, but I've not found much use for it. I don't like the item itself, but hopefully the developer is working on getting that straightened out to where it may become a little more viable in the future here once he gets things straightened out. But that's about it for the Parabolic Microphone. It picks up sound and helps you find where the ghost is. It's supposed to be good for the larger maps, but as mentioned, the range does not seem to pick up as far as it claims to do. Next we have your photo camera. This of course is pretty basic. You got 5 shots per camera, and as it mentions, you can take a picture with the right click of your mouse. This is good for taking pictures of the ghost and other evidence. I'll go ahead and list on the screen here to show you the items that you can take pictures of in order to get evidence or points towards your round. And that's about all there is for it. The photo camera can also be useful for determining a ghost type, specifically the phantom. When you take a picture of the phantom, it will disappear, but it will register that you've taken a picture of the ghost. That usually indicates that you're dealing with a phantom. Next we have the candles. The candle you can sit down or light in hand, if you have the lighter on you, of course. You can also set it down by pressing F, or if you'd like to just throw it, you can use G. But most people now, since he's implemented it, want to use the set down key. But you can also light candles by lighting it and lighting the lighter, pressing F. You can also light the candles in the house that you'll find throughout. These are much brighter than the ones that you will find in-house. They can burn out eventually. The ghost can also blow them out. These are good for a light source in case you're having to sit in the dark and you don't have power on. It'll help with your sanity situation. So as mentioned, it's good for sanity. Carrying them around or setting them up in the room will help with your sanity. As mentioned, you can light them by lighting up the lighter and pressing F on the candle, or if you have it in hand, you can light the candle as well. Next we have salt. Per canister should only have 3 uses. Sometimes they have been bugging out a little bit and you'll get more uses out of it, but that's again a bug in the game since there should be only 3 uses. Salt is good for a couple of things. One is the objective that you'll get to have a ghost walk through salt. It'll leave a footprint through the salt when it walks through it if you happen to find it in the path. What I usually do is when I find the room, I will salt a few piles throughout the room. Maybe not this close obviously, but throughout the room to where the ghost may path through it. Obviously players cannot leave footprints through the salt. That does not make any marks. It does have a reaction with wraiths and how it affects its hunting. That I can go over in another video when I explain ghosts if you guys would want to see that. Next we have the sensors. These are the motion, the sound, and the infrared sensors. I'll kind of go over them pretty quickly since they are all kind of the same thing. If something walks across it, whether it be a player or the ghost, each one of these will go off depending on if you walked in front of it or not. I am going to go ahead and grab a flashlight because I want to show you guys how this works. These are the strong flashlights. These are the normal flashlights that you start with. These are the regular flashlights, the longer ones. As you can see, these are not as strong. I'll go ahead and step out and let you see. As you can see, it seems kind of weak. In comparison here, I'll show you the difference. As you can see, it lit up a little brighter there. You can see even to the RV now. So I prefer the strong flashlights. You don't start with these, you start with the regular ones. So for those of you who are starting out the game, these will be your choice at the moment until you're able to buy items from getting money from running the missions. So we'll go ahead and take a couple of these. I think it's a little different in VR, but you can only carry 3 items in the regular PC version. Make sure you grab your key before you go to the building. So, you can turn your light on with T when you're not holding the flashlight itself. This is a motion sensor. And this is a sound sensor. So as you can see, the sound sensor is lighting up because there is noise. It's looking for sound. With the motion sensor, as you can see, it goes off, it moves. It goes from red to green when something crosses its path, whether it be a player or a ghost. Now if you have someone in the truck, they can monitor the movement and sound and things like that. As you can see here, there's some activity going on from the ghost. Once it reaches a 10, usually that's a big deal. Doesn't always indicate a hunt, but that's usually when it's the most aggressive. As you can see here, it's in the foyer. It will light up instead of saying sensor 2, 1, 2, 3, or 4. It'll say foyer or hallway or bedroom, whatever it's in. And it will determine the sound based on decibel. As you can see, it does have it at a certain level here. So there is some kind of sound that is picking up within the range, but not a lot. As you can see where I've placed it, you can see it lit up here on the board kind of, on the left here on the wall, but the area that it lights up is where it picks up sound. That is the range that it is listening. And as you can see, there is a red line that is showing the motion sensor. It'll go green and it'll beep when something crosses it, whether it be a player or the ghost. Now granted, you can see the players on the map with a green dot. There'll be a little green circle that will be moving around. That is a player. Obviously, if you see that cross, that means the player's crossed it. If motion sensor is one of your objectives, if the ghost crosses it, you will see it go. You will see it mark off on the board. Now the infrared sensor, it's kind of the same concept. However, the infrared sensor, once you cross it, will light up the room. That's what this is useful for, is to light up the room. So let's say I put it here on this wall. And let's see, and let's say I cross it. See, it lights up the area there. And as you can see, my sanity has dropped a little bit, just because I was in the house in the dark. That way, just to kind of show you the example of what happens. Alright, so next up we will have the UV flashlight. The UV flashlight, you can point at windows light switches, doors. I'll have a list on the screen here as well to show the different things that you can find. You can find footprints and fingerprints. Fingerprints would be the evidence that you're looking for. Footprints do not count. That's about all this is good for. You can use it for lighting. It's not very good for lighting, as you can see. As you can see, it's not great for lighting, and it will not help light your way a lot. It is used more so for finding the fingerprints and the footprints. You can have both on at the same time, but it makes it a lot harder to see the fingerprints. At least in my case, I think it's a little harder to see fingerprint evidence when I'm using the flashlight along with the UV light. So usually I will go in with the lights off and then turn my flashlight off and hunt down the fingerprints if that is an evidence marker. Next is the video camera. This is used for finding ghost orbs or keeping up with activity in the house or building that you're in. You can set it on desks, shelves, tables, things like that. You left click and you can rotate it. At least again, this is not for the VR. This is for people who are using just the regular PC mode. So you can rotate it around, and once you get it set to a location, you press F and you can set it down. Make sure to turn it on, and you'll see the light turn green on the back of it. And of course, if you turn it off, but you can also, and of course you can turn it on and off in hand by right clicking. Once you find the tripod, you can actually place it by pressing F, and you can set it up somewhere. So in an area that doesn't have shelving, or something you can set a camera up on in a room where you can see for ghost orbs or the activity, it's useful to use the tripod. So if I set it up in here, I could then check the room. So once I go back to the truck, or if you have somebody monitoring in the truck, you can see what's going on in the room. Now granted, I don't think that this area is where the ghost is, but if the ghost was here and ghost orbs was in evidence, you'd probably need to sit here for a minute, but you would see an orb fly across the screen, a little green orb that'll kind of look like a dust particle. That'll go across the screen, and sometimes it'll kind of just be in the corner and just kind of blip across. Sometimes it'll go across the entire screen. Just kind of have to watch for it. Now, as it mentions on the monitor, the keyboard, if you click on it, it'll turn the night vision on and off. So if I turn it off, obviously there's no lights in the house, so it gets really dark. If the lights are on, it'll make it really hard to see. But you can turn the night vision back on, and you can see in there. You can swap your cameras by using the mouse. This is a good example of what it looks like with the night vision on when the lights are on. Because if I turn this off, there is a light source right here. The lamp that is right there. So it does pick up, it's a really sensitive thing. So as you can see, because it is brighter on the lamp, it does make it a lot harder to see. But then when I switch it over to this one, you can see when there's no lights on. That's what it looks like. That's about all there is to the video camera. They pick up ghost orbs and kind of monitor activity if you're needing to see things. I've noticed a lot of people trying to take a picture of the ghost through the monitor if they see it appear. That is something that is not going to work. That does not work. You cannot take a picture of the ghost through the monitor, and you know, it's kind of like an easy way out. That's not going to work. Alright, and next on the list we have the ghost book, the spirit book. You basically just, you taking it into the room. Once you've taken it into an area, you can set it down on the floor. Oh, hey look, there's water that we can go look at later. Alright, so the book you can set on the floor, you can pick it up. You can set it on tables, chairs, anything that's a flat surface that will work. I'm pretty sure it's in the kitchen. And then the last item that we've got on the list is the head cam. The head cam you can put on by pressing E, and it will work just like the regular cameras, video cameras, but you can see it from a person's perspective. This is also good for finding ghost orbs or monitoring what your friends are doing, and to kind of see what's going on if you need a readout on anything. If you have somebody who is monitoring in the truck and keeping up with that. I will show you the Crucifix setup as well as how the thermometer works, so that way you can get an idea if you've never played it before. That way you'll have a general idea of what's happening here. As you can see, the thermometer is not detecting a lot of temperature right now. It's changing. Is it the kitchen sink? No, it is not. That is the bathroom sink. As you can see, the door is wide open. The ghost has been doing this. All doors will be shut. And as you can see, this is a cold room. So this is the room that we would want to be in. As you can see, it's picking up through that wall for the other room. But this is the room that it would be in. So this is where we'd want to do this. And you can turn it off by clicking that, so that way you can hear. And so usually that's about all you would need this for. As far as... oh. Well, that wasn't nice. As far as the crucifix placement, for example, this one I'd probably set up either one here to kind of cover the room, maybe a little closer to there, so that way it covers a lot of the room, and you'd want to keep an eye on it and see if it's still there. The other place I would probably place one is here. That way it would indicate, that way it could prevent, if it's a wandering ghost, that if it tries to get out here and start the line, because it can kind of start within the perimeter. So I would set one here, and again, one probably about here, just to kind of cover the room. But anyways, if you guys want to see more, just let me know, and I will see you in the next video.